To infinity and beyond. Welcome back to Have You Seen That Film, where today we're going to be ranking the Toy Story franchise. I love the Toy Story franchise. I was born in 1995, the year that Toy Story came out. And so ever since I was a little kid, I watched Toy Story. I grew up on Toy Story. And I think this franchise is fantastic. It's wonderful. And I've had the opportunity lately to review the entire franchise, not once, not twice, but I just finished it for the third time with my daughter, who's a year and a half old. She loves them. It's the only thing that she'll really sit down and actually watch. And so I'm fortunate enough to be the lucky daddy to sit down and watch it with her every time. So I decided, because I've been rewatching them so often, that I would rank the Toy Story films. Now, I think every Toy Story film is great. I don't think there's a bad film in the franchise. But before I explain too more, let's just jump right into it. Coming in at number 4 is Toy Story 4. Now, I really enjoyed Toy Story 4. I think it did really well at, once again, like some of the other ones, playing with our emotions and making us feel something that not every animation movie or even a live action movie can feel. There's that wonderful moment at the very end. It's not, well, I won't say wonderful, it's very sad, and I was very distraught for many days after watching it because of the ending. But, well, I'll just go ahead. I know I'm not a spoiler person, but spoilers, if you haven't seen Toy Story 4, don't watch this clip here. But the fact that Woody and Buzz will never see each other again, it really it messed me up. It was so sad to me. These two characters, these two friends parting ways, it made me very distraught. But the reason it comes at number 4 is, in all reality, I don't feel like Toy Story 4 was necessary. Do I still enjoy it and do I find it to be a fun film? Yes, but you really could have ended it at Toy Story 3 and we would have been fine. It was a perfect trilogy, would have rounded out great. It was nice Toy Story 4 added this element of finding Bo Peep and all that, and it was great, but it wasn't necessary. And I feel like all the characters we love, besides Woody and Buzz, Slinky, Rex, the Potato Heads, Ham, they're not really there in the movie. Like, they're there, but they're just there for little snippets. And even Buzz isn't really in this one as much as Woody has kind of always been the central character of the films, I will admit, but Buzz is phenomenal. I love Buzz, and so it kind of made me sad that this being the last film, that we didn't get more of the Potato Heads and Ham and Slinky, Rex, Jessie, Bullseye, the whole gang, And I felt like some of Bonnie's toys had more screen time or more dialogue than Andy's toys. And granted, I know Don Rickles, who voiced Mr. Potato Head, had died, so they weren't able to use his voice that much. They still were able to use it. But yeah, those are just some of the flaws I see in the 4th film that kind of made it not as great. But the new characters introduced are awesome. I love Duke Kaboom, voiced by Keanu Reeves. Phenomenal. From here on out, it was a little tricky to rank the films. I wasn't sure where to put them. But coming at number 3, I put Toy Story, the original, the first one. And I really have nothing bad to say about this. I love Toy Story. Again, like I said, I was born in 1995, the year it came out, so I grew up watching Toy Story. It was one of my movies as a child that I watched over and over again. I think it was a great start to a great franchise. It really was. If anything, I've realized as I've gotten older that Woody is really sassy and a jealous character in the first one. We always knew he was jealous, but he's super sassy in the first movie. Everyone kind of is. A lot of the characters are very sassy or snarky with each other. And maybe that's why I put it a little bit lower, because I enjoy the friendship and the interactions more in the later films than I did in the first film, because the first film was building that friendship. But yeah, as I was watching last time, I was like, wow, Woody is just so sassy. That's all I can really say. But yeah, I love Toy Story. First film's a great one. Now, the next two entries, it was hard for me to put which one I thought was number one. So really these two could go back and forth, but for this ranking I had to really pinpoint and pick what I thought was the number one and what was number two. So coming in at number two is Toy Story 3. Now, I think Toy Story 3, as I said, kind of with Toy Story 4 being almost unnecessary, Toy Story 3 was the perfect way to end off the original trilogy. It was heartwarming, it was a tearjerker, that moment when they're all in the spoilers again, if you haven't seen it, don't watch this scene, but that moment where you think they're all going to melt and die at the garbage dump, and to when Andy is telling Bonnie why each one of these toys is so special and he's giving them away. It is so sweet and so emotional. It still gets me to this day, like I cry when I watch them with my daughter. I thought it was a great way to round out the films. It was a high note to end on. And plus, Ken as Michael Keaton, Michael Keaton as Ken was a perfect casting choice. I think Ken is hilarious. I love the introduction of Ken, and I think that in casting Michael Keaton, they were spot on with who Ken should be voiced by. So thank you, Michael. I think the reason I see, and this is the thing it was hard to pick, because looking at Toy Story 3 compared to my number one pick, which is obviously going to be Toy Story 2 because that's the one I haven't mentioned yet. Toy Story 3 was funny, but it was also very sweet and emotional. And Toy Story 2 had some sweet and emotional stuff, not as much, whereas Toy Story 2 was really the humor of it all. There's a lot of it in there, and so it was really hard to pick, and both have strong suits and places, and it was hard. But ultimately I went with Toy Story 2, and that was just because I love so much about Toy Story 2. I think a lot of the dialogue and the humor is the best of the franchise. I love Buzz, Slinky, Miss Potato Head, Ham, and Rex all going on their rescue mission to find Woody. That is where a lot of, I think, the best humor comes from, is just that little group on their quest and everything that happens to them, from being in Al's Toy Barn to crossing the road to get to Al's Toy Barn. You see, I think what makes this one special on top is you see the friendship that has grown from the first film between Woody and Buzz. And you get the introduction of Jesse and Bullseye, and even Stinky Pete, even though he's the villain. So I put this one on top really because I love the rescue mission, I love the humor, I love the new characters that have been brought forth, and it was just something special. Like I said, I think all the Toy Story movies are great, but it's very rare that we find a sequel that either matches the first one or even outshines the first one. And I think that's what we see here with Toy Story 2. In my opinion, it's one of the greatest sequels of all time. And it's because it really does, it doesn't rely too heavily on jokes in the first movie, nostalgia. It really does, it brings us a sequel with making it its own thing. So yeah, it's, as you can tell, I had flaws with Toy Story 4, and then Toy Story 1 through 3. I really haven't too many flaws. There was nothing I really could say. It was just kind of, Here's why I like them more than the other one. But again, Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3 are really interchangeable. It just kind of depends, I guess, at the phase and time of my life. But Toy Story 2 is going to be our #1 pick. I'd love to hear your ranking of the Toy Story films. Maybe you love the 4th one more than I do. And again, I love the 4th one, but it's just the bottom of my list. But maybe you find nothing is better than the original. Whatever you feel, I want to know. So comment down below. If you like this video, hit that thumb icon. And thanks for watching today. And remember that you've got a friend in me. That was kind of a cheesy way to end it. I just wanted to throw some kind of Toy Story at you. Take care.